In this video, we'll have a look at how Ultra Electronics are using ComplyPro for their airports contract in Oman. This first screen shows you the 40 different systems specifications that are being managed in ComplyPro. The contents screen lists these out as a set of links. The first two columns here show the user requirements that have been imported into the system by Ultra so that they can develop their system's responses to each of these systems on an individual basis. There are several activities across the top of the screen. These activities allow you to access different parts of the system with different functions. The activity we're in now, highlighted in orange, is a horizontal view of the dashboard, i.e. two separate link sections, the main section to the left and the link section to the right, side by side. Some users of this system like to view this information above and below. So we provided two separate dashboard contents views, one above and below and one side by side. So when we click through any of these different project URDs or SRDs simply by clicking on the system as it's listed, I can look at the URD for, say, the Airport Information Broker. This will launch into the main screen on the left hand section, and you'll see two separate link sections to the right. If I scroll through, I can see with scroll bars the details of the user requirements. These user requirements have been imported into the system as provided to Ultra by their client. So I can see by selecting any one of these items the SR responses that Ultra have derived from their client specification to show how they're intending on satisfying this particular requirement. So when I select a different item, then on the left hand side it will show me a different set of linked SR items to the right. If I look back to the dashboard, I can also click through and look at the actual SR specification in focus to the left hand side by selecting the item here. Now I can see this. I can also scroll through and look at different items within the specification. I can see also I've got a different set of what we call link tabs to the right hand side. If I select an item to the left hand side, once again, now it will show me the linked UR items on the right that this particular specification item is satisfying. So different items will show me different UR items to the right hand side. So what I may want to do with this is I could search. In fact, what they do is search in here for any terms that you might not want to include in the set of requirements. An example here would be where I would expect to find a good deal of shall statements, and indeed you can see when I put this into the search field and look down, as I scroll through the specification, you can see a good deal of shall statements being visible. An example of a word you should avoid in requirement writing is should. So if I have a look for that, you will see in here that there are absolutely zero should statements in this particular requirement set. So I can also apply a filter in here. One of the things that my contact looks for within this set of data that's been filled out, so the SR response to this particular airport information broker system, is the number of assumptions that have been written into this specification in response to satisfying the user requirements. So if I look and filter on the category, I will look for a filter on assumption, and I can see here a filtered set that there are 36 assumptions within this specification. I can then quickly review these assumptions and check whether any effort can be made to minimize these assumptions by queries back to the client. Okay, so we've seen from the dashboard we can view and review separate user requirement sets and system requirement sets. I can also see an SRD status here. This has been applied by the client after reviewing a submitted SR requirement set. This is A to D, and on submittal of this requirement set, the client will review it with the intention being that these all need to end up in the A to B category range. So what other view can I impose on here? So when I look into a set of user requirements, I've actually got another view to the right hand side here. I've got the user requirements versus system requirements. So instead of viewing the user requirements to the left hand side and the system's requirements to the right hand side, I can actually combine this into a single view for the purpose of creating a report. So if you see in here, we've now got the user requirement ID and statement to the left, along with the corresponding system requirement user IDs and statements to the right, along with their categorization. So I can also apply filters to this if I wish, but on here I can now create a PDF report for this particular combined view of the data. So I get my choice of producing a landscape or portrait report. I can specify a header and footer and generate the PDF, and the PDF has now appeared on my other screen. I've just dragged it across for you to view. So you can see in here that there's a specification document that's been exported to PDF that could now be uploaded to a document management system if that's required as part of the contract. Okay, so when it came to actually writing our responses to the user requirement sets here, if I choose a particular SRD item, I can actually either at any point here I can insert additional rows. If I insert the row, then it will give me a temporary ID until such time as I save, where I can create a new SR statement and fill in the details and categorization using drop-down choices. So I could create a new assumption here. Okay, I'll explain slightly in a minute what the viewpoint documents are. So to the right hand side now we'll see that there are no linked user items to this particular statement that I've just created. So the way I would go about doing that is by looking at the All URDs tab for obviously the Airport Information Broker SRD. And so I can look at that specification in here. I can go through and I can find the particular user requirement item that I want to satisfy with this statement. I can right click and I could link it to the existing item. So now, especially if I scroll along, I can see all the different SR items that are being used to satisfy this particular user item. So in some cases this is in all cases this is a many-to-many relationship, where the possibility is that a single SR statement might satisfy several user requirement statements, or the opposite being that several system requirement statements are required to satisfy a single user requirement statement, or indeed just a one-to-one case. So if we look back out to our dashboard now, we'll also take a look at what viewpoint documents are. So one of the requirements of the system was that separate documents could be either uploaded on or hosted on a document management system and would need to be referenced from either from system requirement statements if a user chose to do so, or indeed hosted on the ComplyServe file share area. So a list of these could be created in the system, such as this example here, and you can add and remove new documents onto here if you wish to. So I could insert a row after, create a new document reference on here, and I can obviously type in or copy in the link to this document wherever it exists. I can also see in this linked SRD item column, I can see which SR items are currently linking to this particular document, i.e. document 10. There's the two items. All the blue hyperlinks mean that I can click through. So I could click through and view this particular document, and I could also click the view and see this particular SR item. What I'm going to do now though is I'm going to go back into my specification. I'm going to go into my SR item, and I'm going to go along, and you'll see that I can see a column here for viewpoint documents. So over on the right hand side, okay, you'll see I've got two additional link tabs, so I can see that currently this particular statement isn't linked to any viewpoint documents, as you'll also see in this box is empty. But just like with the user requirement statements here, I've got an all tab where I can view the full set of viewpoint documents that are being referenced in the system. So I can choose one of these and I can right click just like before and link to the existing viewpoint document, and you'll see that appear in here to the right hand side. And also you'll see there's a note here to saying see the linked viewpoint documents tab below, or obviously beside in my choice of view here. So here we go. In the linked viewpoint documents tab, here's the single document that's being referenced by this statement, at which point I can click through, view the document, and I can also see any other statements that are being linked to this particular document at the same time. Okay, thanks very much for this video. The next video will look at how the proof of concept we're doing for Ultra with the change logs and the interface logs.